This is it. Don't get scared. Time for the NL East battle. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew. We're here to talk all things Philly sports now. Yeah, I just botched an opening. It's really funny how you do that every week and you still somehow forget the words every now and again. We're back to talk all things Philly sports now that the Phillies have gone and won Game 3 against the Marlins. So officially, we have at least tied the series. Of course, we're all hoping for a Game 4 victory, which would give us the series win tomorrow. When tomorrow is in Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday, the 18th. Um, so, all that to be said, at least we got the tie. Take that, especially coming off of the sweep against the Toronto Blue Jays, which Andrew put out a great review recap of. You can find this on YouTube and Spotify. If you haven't already, go check those out because that was a big, huge series to have a sweep, especially without the King Bryce Harper. So, a lot going on right now, a lot to take in, but we mainly wanted to get this podcast out, not so much to review what's going on, which we kind of will briefly, but the main thing I wanted to go over is really kind of in upcoming events, which is, as I said, the battle for the NL East, which is in the upcoming series, Phillies versus the New York Mets in Philadelphia. So let's first briefly, I mean, I wasn't even going to talk about the Toronto series. Andrew already did such a great job. Just going to say, you can't be happier. You talked about it, Andrew, but I think my biggest takeaway was we talked about you come off of the sweep from the Pirates. You're getting that learning curve of how the team operates without Bryce Harper and how the team's adding, how their team's functioning, what players are playing what roles, and you're getting a little scared. The city of Philadelphia and the WIPers everywhere are getting terrified. It's not working out, but needless to say, things were getting back into the thick of it, and I think that Toronto Blue Jays series does a great job of showing that this team still has what it takes even without Bryce Harper. There was just adjustments that need to be made. Um, and I think they're being made. I think Kemp's doing a great job stepping up. I think the rest of I think Turner once again continues to shine. He is doing exactly what he needs to do. And I really don't have anything else to say to that. I don't have his stats ready right now. It's late. It's 9:30 at night. Everyone else, I don't give a shit. I'm not super stats mode right now, folks. But I know Turner is doing well and I am happy with it. So if you're not, I think you're lying to yourself about how he's performing. I think you're looking for an out and you're choosing the wrong guy to say the least. If anything, we can talk about the Castellanos drama, which we will. Um, but yeah, super happy with how the Toronto Blue Jays series turns out because that's a team that you need to kind of, again, it's another statement, right? They kind of took some from you before you go out there. You really take it from them. I mean, it was in Philadelphia. You don't go out there. You come home and take it from them. But it was a good series to watch. Great to have it happen. Now Philly is in Miami. They took game one. I know I watched it. Feels like it was an eternity ago. Great game. But what's fresh off my mind, even though I just watched game three mere moments ago, what's fresh off my mind is last night's game two, which was the Luzardo loss. And that's kind of something I want to talk a little bit about today with Andrew while we can, because we talked, I believe it was just this past podcast we were together about Luzardo. He was worked on, he had his adjustments, he got the new glove. He seemed to be doing better in that game three. He had game one, bad game two, bad game, comes back for game three, is back to normal. I think he had 10 home runs, 10 strikeouts, did great, nothing to worry about. And then yesterday, Luzardo allows 4 runs in 5 innings, probably should have been pulled an inning early. How much drama worry are we putting on Luzardo right now? Because I feel like Luzardo is legitimately our number two pitcher, especially with Nola out of contention being on IL. I'm legitimately I think Luzardo might be my number one concern over anything else right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on.
I love that.
Obviously,
Also, you know what? Everyone out there, everyone, go yourself. I'll edit this. That's fine. I do baseball. I know ball, man. That's right. Me. Get out there, Andrew. Tell them why I'm right.
well, after all that, you're wrong. No, um, no, I think Lazardo has to be one of everybody's biggest concerns right now. Obviously, three of his last four has not been great. Like you said, you had sandwiched in that really good start, and it was, oh, is he back? And like we said, like I said in the podcast after a second bad start, you know. When a guy starts doing good, you're not like, oh, he's back after two good starts, right? You want to see it continue. So no one was like, oh, he's back. It was okay. We need to see another good one, and he followed it up with a bad outing. The difference, what's weird about it, the difference between that bad outing and the previous two bad outings, it wasn't like he was getting hit hard. He couldn't find his command in that game. Like the two games, the one in Toronto and the one at home against Milwaukee, they were crushing the ball off him. He was giving up what was it, 12 runs against Milwaukee and 8 runs against Toronto, where yesterday, or yeah, Tuesday, the second game of the series, as you mentioned, Zach, he walked four. So his command wasn't there. He walked 4 and 5 innings. And I think where the concern is he's already reached his innings limit from last season, or not innings limit, but his innings from last season before his injury, and now seems like he's showing signs of fatigue. And I think that's where it becomes concerning a little bit is how deep into games is he going to be able to go? And it starts with that right there because you saw it in the fifth inning. He threw a pretty good fifth inning, and like you said, Rob Thompson pushed him out for a sixth inning, and he walks the first two batters. And I think that was a sign of fatigue. And if you would have pulled him in the fifth, I think you're looking at it as a different start. He went 5 innings, he only gave up 2 runs, and he got the job done. So it's interesting where he falls there, and I think that's where you have to really work with him and get his strength back, get his leverage back there to go deeper into games because again, and he was at 92 pitches, so he might have just been tired and I mean
That
again,
is a lot in a short amount of time, but like
yeah,
that's
and
that's
that's
kind of
something.
still an excuse in itself.
Yeah, and I think partially too, and I mean, this is looking back to Monday's game. You pull McAble after 77 pitches. I know we were talking about in our group chat, like, why were you pulling him after 77? I know they're kind of being cautious with him, just coming up, but that's something you got to look at because you have a week where, and this is partly what Rob's looking at too, but you have a week where you don't have an off day. You mentioned it. We have the fourth game of the series Thursday, and then you have the three-game series against the Mets. So you have to be careful with your bullpen. And you pulled Nick Abel, the rookie. Yeah, you want to keep his innings down and everything and be cautious with him. So you stuck to it and you pulled him after the fifth inning. So you had to use your bullpen for 4 innings on Monday. So in a full week, if you pull Luzardo after the fifth inning, you're looking at back-to-back nights of 4 innings from the bullpen, and obviously you want to try to avoid that. And I think that's where you tried to push Luzardo for another inning. If you would have had a pitcher go 6 or 7 on Monday night, then you have the luxury of pulling Luzardo. And with how thin this bullpen is because of the struggles, you have to be cautious with that. And you had to move Taiwan Walker to the bullpen, who pitched Monday night. Coming from a starting pitcher, I mean, I know we can sit here and say he should be available, but those guys, those starters aren't used to going back-to-back nights. So even though he only went 1 inning Monday, he's kind of got to work his way into being available for a second day. So you're almost short another guy. So I think that's kind of why you saw him push Luzardo, and it's a shame because again, he worked around it for 5 innings, but he ran out of gas, and the bullpen couldn't come in and get the job done.
It just really just this pitching. God, it's always the pitching, man. It's just when you have these aces who we are fully depending on, like Nola, getting injured, Luzardo. I don't know, losing gas, I guess is the best way to put it based off of your analysis there. Like these are issues you can't have happen. And it's things and I've been trying to stop myself from talking about this stuff until at least the All-Star break, but I think I'm going to allow myself to use this for I believe the first time this Phillies season. But these are the kind of postseason issues that lose World Series. Like Luzardo losing steam early in a game against the Miami Marlins when he is your guy who you want to depend on no matter whether you're home or away in a World Series and an NLCS. Like that's the kind of thing you can't have happen. Like, like fast forward to that moment in time, and you have him in those situations, and maybe the sheer pressure itself is just making it worse. Maybe he loses steam even faster. Maybe he's even out. He's gassed even faster. And I hate to think that. And I'm trying to keep my composure. Like I said, I'll try not to go into the whole postseason talk again. I'm trying to keep all that stuff until at least the All Star break. But I think that's a legitimate concern for this ace pitcher that we are seeing starting to decline.
Yeah, the only one I'd say is the bullpen. I'm not concerned about the starter. I think you'll be fine long term. And here's the thing with Luzardo, you brought him in to be your fourth five guy, and that's what he's going to be. He obviously was off to a great start. I'm not taking anything away from him, and he developed himself into that number two that we wanted to call ace. But in reality, like you're you have Christopher Sanchez who's pitching on another level right now. You have Ranger Suarez who after another dominating performance tonight, he's pitching on another level, and obviously you have Zach Wheeler. So those are probably your three, and then Nola. I mean, just from the standpoint of where he's been with this organization, he's going to be your four probably.
Of course.
So,
But
and when you get,
I will counter to not counter because I'm agreeing with you, but you did mention like how the bullpen still remains the issue, and that is I'll say like today we saw Strom the final the final pitch of the game I thought was going to be a home run. I thought
oh,
he
I think everybody did. I thought
and
that was a walk-off
Castellanos
home
gets
run.
up there and steals that thing,
Yeah.
man. And it's one of those things where yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done, but I,
Well, and
I know
that's
we
what
keep saying
you,
it, but the bullpen needs to have something done before the deadline, and that
yeah,
is
you mentioned the All-Star break. Wait
yeah.
2 more weeks after the All-Star break. Wait to the deadline. Then you'll find out what this team is. And I mean, all jokes aside, and we don't want to get too much in the postseason talk, but to have a legitimate chance at the World Series, you have to add at least two relievers at the deadline. If you don't get two relievers, you're going to be going in with a thin bullpen, and we don't know what that brings. I mean,
I
obviously,
think
no
I'm starting to
question.
get concerned though about how dependent it seems to be that we're going to be on any random closer that is added to this roster.
Well, it's not necessarily random. Like you know who's good, you know who's on the market. Like you're going to be looking at an Aroldis Chapman with the Red Sox, who you know who's having a fantastic year. He's hitting 100 miles per hour. He's got below 2 ERA. He's their closer. He's locking the doors down for them. You're looking at Felix Bautista from Baltimore. Like those guys, you know what they potentially can give you. Like it's not like you're bringing somebody up from the farm system that you don't know
Sure.
what he's going to give you. Kind of like last year. You got Carlos Estevez who threw well and just obviously gave up the big home run in the playoffs. But overall, again, you knew what you were getting out of him, and the issue there was letting him walk in the offseason. But
Yeah. Yeah. Knows his stuff, guys. All right, but yeah, so and I mean to kind of close out, like I said, today Phillies went and won. They won 4-2. I think the big thing was Castellanos was back. He missed was it both games or just last game? I already forget.
just Tuesday night.
Yeah, so Andrew, I think you why don't you go into it isn't public what happened, right? But there's drama between Castellanos and Rob Thompson, correct?
Yeah, we never got actual word for word what was said. All Rob Thompson said was he pulled him from the game, obviously for defensive reasons. No one can fault him there. I mean, obviously Rojas is a better defender than Castellanos. The only argument in that standpoint was maybe he did it in an inning early because Rojas' spot did come up and you took out your cleanup hitter. So from a strategy standpoint, that would be the only issue there. But the issue was Castellanos gets pulled, and he apparently said something walking back into the dugout. And apparently, according to Rob Thompson, all he said was it's an inappropriate comment, and that's why he got benched. No one knows what was said, how bad it really was. I think what the issue was when Rob Thompson said it was, he said it in the dugout, right? I mean, if you have an issue, you go behind door, yeah, you go in Rob's office, address it that way. It's behind closed doors, and I mean, obviously, I mean, we got to remember Rob Thompson is basically like what our version of our boss is, right? So you don't always see eye to eye, right? So I mean, there's obviously better ways to approach it, and if
You
he
don't want to see a coworker go head to head with your boss
yeah.
in front of everyone.
Yeah, if he did it back coming into the dugout, and depending on what was said, how bad it was, I mean, yeah, I mean Rob's got to do something, right? I don't fault Rob for doing it. I mean, obviously,
Oh, I
it
don't
didn't.
fault Rob at all. I'm
Yeah,
more just curious what. Casty did, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everybody does. Everybody in the city, right? We want to know what was said. Like, and you could view it in 10 different ways, right? It could have just been really bad cursing. It could have been, did he take a shot at Rojas? I'm not saying he did, but I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, he could be like, how are you replacing him for me, right? Or something like that. Like, so like, and he doesn't seem like a guy that would call out a teammate, right? I think he'd be more directed toward Rob for
I
making the move.
agree. I don't
But
think there's anything that makes me led to believe that he would
yeah,
take a shot at Rojas for no reason, but like, yeah, and I do I like, all this just all the speculation aside, I do think it's blatant now that it was a Casty was removed for a defensive reason, and then Casty was upset because of that reason because Casty made the game-winning out
yeah, remove your catch.
with catching the ball in the outfield. Like literally, his defensive catch wins the game. Like so,
You
I don't
knew it
know.
wasn't going to end any other way.
Like
The only
he
thing I thought, I was waiting for Tuesday night though during the game. It was before, the Marlins added on, because I was waiting for the ninth inning when it was still a 3-run game, the Phillies to get the first two guys on base, and then like Rojas or somebody else to come up, and it'd be like the perfect chance for Cassie to like pitch hit.
pitch
And I
hit.
would have been like, will they do make the move and pitch hit, or are they going to bench him the entire day? I was really hoping for that in Tuesday's game. It didn't happen, obviously,
That would, I
but
mean, you'd have to swallow your pride pretty hard to be
yeah.
like, all right, Casty, you're in. Like that's crazy.
And
Uh,
here's the thing. Here's the thing too, and
yeah,
really my last thing on it,
yeah. And
mainly.
then we'll move on.
You got anything else on it? But the reason why it had to be something pretty bad is because one, Rob isn't known for doing this. So for him to actually bench somebody, it makes it pretty big, right? We've talked about Alec Boehm throwing his fits on certain plays and then not doing anything. We always see the base running blunders and nobody being accounted for on that. So like for Rob one to make this move, to me that tells me it was pretty bad. And two, I get it. Like, it's not the only reason to play somebody, but to end somebody's, and I get it, it wasn't anything close to a record or anything, but also to end somebody's streak of 236 consecutive games started. That was the first time Nick Castellanos didn't start since September 30th of 2023. So, like, to end a streak like that, especially in today's game where you see guys getting days off left and right, like, it had to be worth benching, right? That's why I'm
Yeah.
going to back up Rob on this
It's
because,
also like
again,
that's one of the reasons I think Cassie is one of the most beloved players because it's literally his will, his work ethic that
yeah,
is like what drives him, basically, right? Like it's not even so much how good he is. He is a tremendous player, but it's not even so much how good he is. It's the way he comes off of how much he plays ball. Like it is one of the best assets, or not assets. Sorry, it's one of the best things about him, and yeah, I gotta agree. I think it has to have been a personal shot. I think
yeah, I
whether it
agree.
was about Rob or whether it was about Rojas, it had to be personal. Because like I think you used the perfect example with Bohm. Bohm throws a hissy fit every other day, right? Like, but
Yeah,
his tantrums, he's always mad at himself. Like,
exactly.
no one gives a shit if he's mad at himself. But like if you go and you curse out someone else, that's when that might be drawing a line. And that is the perfectly right line to draw, to be clear. It's just,
Yeah.
it had to be done. So
And I
anyway,
also
I
want,
agree. I don't really have anything else to say, so if you want to close it out, go for it.
yeah, I also wonder too how much we all see, with Liam, like Liam, his son going to games and stuff, and how big of a family guy he is. I don't know how many people know this, but he's also from the Miami area. So I wonder if he felt like a little bit of embarrassment too. Like, I'm sure he had his immediate family there. Who else knows around his family? Like, might have showed up some friends. Like, it might have been a little bit of that where he was kind of like,
You're taking me
also
out of
like,
my
don't do that.
game
Yeah,
with my
because
friends.
this isn't the first time they did a defensive replacement, right? They did it over
Sure.
the weekend in the Toronto series. Like, so like part of me kind of thought maybe, yeah, he had a lot of people there and he kind of felt embarrassed getting taken out of the game a little bit, and he kind of let that emotion, because we all know he's an emotional player, so maybe he let that get into his head a little bit too. So I think a lot of things went into it, and again, hopefully, I mean, I think the response in today's game really showed. I think it was kind of a one night thing and forget about it. But
I do agree. I think that's important. Let's move on and let's real quick, Andrew. Do you know who the pitching matchup is for tomorrow before we go to the Mets?
Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for the Phillies, and I think. And no, he's going to be countered. He's going to be countered by Edward Cabrera, who um, is a guy the Phillies should be able to get to. I take the Phillies in that pitching matchup.
Cool. All right, well, let's actually keep it going because we're kind of pushing the envelope here. So, big story here. Phillies going back to Philadelphia. New York Mets coming in Friday. Yeah, first things first, you kind of made me forget that it was back-to-back games, no days off. And that's got to imply the Phillies are traveling either late Thursday night or Friday morning. Either way, they're going to be exhausted Friday for that first game, and that kind of sucks right away. I think that's a huge, huge, weight on their shoulders for that first game one. And that doesn't even go into actual matchups. It doesn't go to actual problems, but we're here to talk about them. Mets number one in the NL East. They have two games on the Phillies right now, which isn't crazy. Like I feel like every time I go into Instagram baseball world or YouTube baseball world, I'm constantly seeing people praise the Mets for how dominant they are. Which don't get me wrong, great baseball team right now. Like they're hot. You're just gonna throw it right down. But like they're only a two-game lead. Like we could literally like come back like that on them, and that's one of those things where it's kind of like a sobering stat to see that. So excited about that. Excited for the series. I need it to be a good series.
The start, Braves are up 5-0 on the Mets right now. So in the ninth inning, so hopefully that score holds, and you're only one back after tonight, and
That's
you
great.
potentially could be tied. You could potentially be tied going into the Friday series if the Phillies win tomorrow and the Mets lose on Thursday. So that's the luxury. It balances out this time with that Friday because the Mets will be traveling after a late game in Atlanta, so they'll probably honestly get to the city around the same time. And you're the home team, so you should have the advantage there a little bit, but um, Zach Wheeler's on the mound Friday. I mean, Zach Wheeler's on the mound Friday, so
Which
hopefully
is
that
good
gets him
because
out.
he will be nice and rested.
Hopefully that gets him out to a good start in the series, and you get Saturday and Sunday as well. I will say, don't forget, make plans now for Friday's game because it is Apple TV only, our favorite. As all three games this weekend are nationally televised. So yeah, that's why all three will be night games. You get the Fox Saturday night game, ESPN Sunday night baseball, and Friday night
Ugh.
Apple TV. So
I hate
plan
Sunday night
accordingly.
baseball. Hate Sunday night baseball.
I don't mind it too much. The Apple TV drives me crazy, but
But there's just something
um,
great about a Sunday afternoon game.
oh, for sure. I'd much it's like football. You'd rather the
Yeah,
1 o'clock, 4 o'clock
yeah,
kickoff than the Sunday night kickoff.
absolutely. Yes.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be exciting. The fans are gonna show out. Hopefully, this is your chance to take back the division. Obviously, you had it for a little bit before your bad stretch getting swept to Pittsburgh. But you're catching the Mets at the right time. They're a little banged up pitching wise. That's why they haven't announced a starter for Friday night. They're a little banged up, and they're coming in, getting swept to the Tampa Bay Rays over the weekend. And then again, assuming the score holds 5-0 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Um, they'll lose five straight because they lost the first two against Atlanta. So then you'll see what happens that final game of the series. But either way, you're catching the Mets at the right time. You got to take advantage. Go get two at home. I mean, really, yeah, especially with Wheeler on the mound Friday against the guy they're going to name later. They haven't announced it yet. Then obviously you get the rookie on Saturday, Mick Abel, and then Jesus Luzardo Sunday. So Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, that's why you want to take Friday because obviously Saturday, Sunday get a little interesting.
I did have a note about the current Mets losing streak, and that always I actually hate that, right? Because you're correct. It means the Mets are cold right now, which is good for the Phillies. But statistically, and we've talked about this before, but the other shoe is going to drop. So is it going to drop against the Phillies? And that's the last thing you want to have happen. So I hate that. I hope it doesn't happen. But I do like how cold the Mets are right now, especially against a pretty bad Braves team this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. I see what you're saying, and yeah, hopefully, like we just saw with the Phillies, right? You saw that hot stretch, then you saw a struggle, and now you're getting back after it. So again, maybe it's gonna be a fun battle, but especially because you want the Phillies obviously to get that revenge because we talked about before, your first time facing this Mets team, you got swept in New York, so. you want to get bounced back and at least get two this weekend, this weekend series, because you can't fall too behind in the head-to-head series, especially when a division race is this close. Because
Yeah, I mean
obviously,
that all
again,
comes down to, that all matters in the end, which is crazy to talk about now, but like this is the series that matters in those
yeah,
ending months. You already talked about it, but I did have a note here that the rotation I think is the biggest vulnerability for the Mets. I think the Phillies have to take advantage of it. I think the Mets just have weak points there that is what's causing them to have these losing series. I I I meant to go on this losing streak. Um I think the Phillies really have this current lineup down. I think Rob Thompson's doing a decent job with the lineup. I think his biggest struggle is knowing when to pull a pitcher. I don't think we really have to worry too much about that usually with Wheeler. So Friday it's not a big concern, but Saturday, Sunday, maybe that's another conversation. But yeah, as far as the lineup goes, I feel like the lineup's been pretty strong with the new ish order. And I don't know. I definitely feel like it's confident. I think it's the series. I think it's the Mets series to lose, but I think the Phillies have every right to take it. I think they can, and this is without Harper, and I mean that in the most respectful way about the current Phillies team. I really do think they can go make a statement with the Mets and be like, no, we are going to be the NL East winners at the end of this year.
yeah, and they need to do it soon. And I think they should. I get this team doesn't have Harper, but I really think you should go take two out of three, and I think they will. But I think. You're enough games removed now without Harper. With obviously he misses bat, but I mean, I think you can only use that excuse for so long, and now you're starting to win and figure it out. I think that's going to go a long way, and hopefully, you get.
Agreed.
Hopefully, I mean, again, he had a bad last stretch, but hopefully, you get Otto Kemp back. He missed today's game after fouling off his leg, so hopefully, that's nothing too serious, and he can find a way to get back in the lineup this weekend. But
Well, Andrew, anything else for that Mets series before we get going here? And if not, I'll say after that, Phillies take on in Houston the Astros and then the Braves. We'll probably be recording our next podcast in one of those time slots. Um, but if you want to give any quick word on what you think on those two, now's the time.
yeah, those would be fun series as well. Obviously, anything with Atlanta would be tough. Especially you said down there, right? In Atlanta.
Oh yeah, they're both away. Yep,
Yeah,
Mets is
so
the
I mean,
last
obviously
Phillies Philadelphia series for a bit.
a road series in Atlanta is always going to be a tough one to get, and then Houston's a good team that you never can take lightly. And yeah, again, obviously, it's something you're gonna have to deal with. I mean, they'll get Monday off, and obviously use that to their advantage after having a full week and as a travel day. And yeah, hopefully, you keep it rolling. But yeah, that's I think a good opportunity to keep going. But last thing at least too is. Gallon votes. These guys need you talk about Trey Turner earlier. He's third in the National League and All-Star votes. We need to get him higher. He's well deserving of being the starter, but definitely top two to get him into the All-Star game. So a lot of fan voting. So we need to keep him going. And anybody else on that you want to vote for, but especially Trey Turner.
I agree. Gotta get on. I gotta get on there more too. Yeah, definitely. I think we should probably be recording. We'll probably do a Mets and Houston series recap together after the Houston series. So you'll probably be hearing it from us then. So get out there, go vote for our Philadelphia All Stars. Make sure let's try and get a couple of Philadelphia's best in the starting lineup. I hope we can do that. Uh, but yeah, all right. So thank you everyone for listening to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. You can find us on social media. Links are in the description below. Make sure you follow us on Spotify if you haven't already. That means a lot and is helping our numbers greatly. We really appreciate everything you guys are doing for us, and we hope you enjoy our optimistic Philly fan podcast. We will talk to you guys soon. Remember, keep your head high. We have this under control. And as always, go Phils. Good night.